เ Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to a surprise reviewing of one of these bosses that I usually don't do. I usually don't do the platforming ones because they're, honestly pretty much played out from the start. There's not really much to say about them, but this one I really did want to give at least some attention to because, honestly, it's one of my favorite ones from the Donkey Kong series. The Donkey Kong series really hasn't had a lot of iconic bosses, aside from the ones that are infamously difficult, and those are usually going to be on the annoying bad end of the spectrum, but they are iconic just because people do remember how much of a trial that the K. Rool bosses were in their heyday. But other than that, I don't really remember a lot of bosses across the spectrum of the games that we've done, but I did remember Bashmaster, and that's because Bashmaster was one of those odd ones that just seemed to do everything right. And it is a weird one because I don't think the people at Retro actually intended Bashmaster to be as good as he ended up being. Because Bashmaster is honestly close to a perfect storm of getting everything right. The first thing is that he's comedic, but not completely over the top. Bashmaster was just enjoying his lunch on the beach in the middle of this ice lake that he lives around, or whatever the heck he's doing. The important thing is that DK showing up makes him dump his food into the ice lake that he lives on, and therefore he gets pissed off at DK, giving them an immediately good reason why this boss fight is happening in the first place, other than it just being an obligation to finish the world. It's actually making the encounter interesting, rather than DK just showing up and the other guy getting pissed off that he's there in the first place. And then there's the actual boss fight itself, which is the perfect length to make it very interesting, because you aren't immediately allowed to get at Bashmaster and dish out damage, making it long enough so that it's challenging to get in the damage but also not frustrating. And the other thing that makes it interesting is that it's a good combination of getting around Bashmaster attacks while he's attacking you directly, and then on top of that he combines it with the platforming of the game's core gameplay loop, which makes DK have to jump over alternating height ice blocks all the time, and it's coming in waves and waves. So DK has to keep his eye on the ball and get all over this stuff if he has a chance to get Bashmaster's health down, which again, it's not that hard and it doesn't hurt DK that much that it ends up getting really annoying. The waves aren't in a super short or a super long string. So again, it just seems like everything on the numbers end of this boss fight worked out exceedingly well, hitting the perfect golden sweet spot to make Bashmaster a perfect blend of fighting around a boss and combining it with platforming, making it probably one of the best bosses you could have for a Nintendo platform, because it's got both sides on it. It's got the best of both worlds working for it, making it the perfect length, making it the perfect challenge, and therefore it has a greater chance of people actually remembering who Bashmaster is, instead of people like Scowl and Fugu, who, while they're good on their own, they aren't this good. It's just great. I love that they added the platforming attacks that would actually bring in a second discipline of gameplay and make it multi-dimensional, making it more interesting rather than just having to work around the boss's attacks in order to get the punching in. This is something that requires multiple levels of gameplay discipline and gameplay awareness. So it just ends up being a lot more satisfying because you have to keep more balls in the air, proving to yourself that you're more clever to get around what Bashmaster is doing. It is just such a great boss, so greatly designed that I really wish that a lot of people would remember who Bashmaster was, because really, it should be remembered, because platforming bosses can be this good. It should not be so hard to find something that is this good, something that is this fleshed out, and has a good character behind it. It hits all the boxes, and it shouldn't be that hard to figure out, because what Bashmaster does well is not actually that hard to understand and replicate. So that's why I wanted to make a note of why I like Bashmaster so much, is because we should be doing more of this. It should not be the exception. It should be closer to the rule, or at least try to be. So, yeah, just look at Bashmaster's gameplay and just do that again. This was such a great segment of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. And it's such a shame that I haven't been able to do positive reviews for a lot of these games because they just aren't this good and this memorable as a standard boss fight sort of thing for this series.